One of the biggest players in that region is Pemex, Mexico's state-owned oil producer. It's the government's most important source of revenue, but there are plans to restructure the state oil giant. I'm being joined now by its chief executive, Emilio Lozoya, who came to share his plans for the restructuring here in St. Petersburg. It's nice to have you on the Global Exchange face-to-face. We've only talked via satellite before. You have a very big mandate here by Enrique Peña Nieto to bring in investment, not to privatize the state oil company or take it on an IPO. It's going to stay in state hands, but you're going to open the door to foreign investment. Can that pass, this petroleum law? You're confident that this can go through?
Thank you, John. Well, as the president has said this week while attending the G8 summit, indeed there is a plan to open up the energy sector in Mexico, but with what purpose? Well, to extract more hydrocarbons so that this can benefit both the industry. We have not only a policy to extract cheap oil and sell it expensive, but as you know, North America is changing. There's an energy revolution, and there's a much cheaper energy source, which is gas. Gas is capable of producing cleaner energy and bringing in more manufacturing investment, more fertilizing industry investment, more petrochemicals. So what is the reform about? It's about opening up the sector, as you say, without privatization. Pemex will not be open to private investment. What this reform aims to is to bring in investment along the state. And well, in essence, we hope that between August and September, this reform process will move on.
It's interesting. You have probable reserves of about 40 billion barrels. If you bring in that private investment, say from a U.S. oil giant or a European oil giant to come in as a co-partner, what's the potential, do you think, of Mexico going forward? Much higher than that in terms of reserves and then tapping into shale oil and gas? What's the target here?
Yes, I mean, for example, on shale gas, shale oil, we have an estimate of about 60 billion potential. But this, you need to invest in exploration. And Pemex has an investment budget for 2013 close to $3 billion, which is a lot more. It's 3 times what we were investing about 10 years ago, but it's one of the lowest in the industry. Our geology is great, but you need to invest in exploration.
It's pretty interesting because you've gone from, 3.4 million barrels a day down to 2.6. So the capital is needed. You found corruption, at least you think you did, in your first 3 months in the job. You're combing through the books, you've looked around, and you don't like what you're seeing. What do you think you're going to find there?
Well, another big element of this reform, John, is to improve the transparency in Pemex. We are the largest company in the country, and therefore people, and I think rightly so, expect much more transparent way of doing business. We plan to be much more participative in the capital markets, in going to finance some of our assets, and this should open up the books. Transparency is, I believe, not only the agenda of Pemex, but of President Peña in all the country.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about here is that you were the international advisor to the president during the campaign here right now, and you're looking at what the Federal Reserve's just talking about, that hint of pulling out that bond purchasing, sending shivers through the Mexican stock market. It's happening here in Russia. Global markets, kind of in a panic. Can Mexico withstand the capital flight itself? Can it stabilize? How long does this go on for? What are you saying to the president right now about the shivers that we're seeing with emerging market investments?
Well, the financial industry, as you know, is global, and whatever the U.S. Pursues in terms of policy, or the U.S. Fed, will affect other markets. But Mexico is in a very good shape, and that does not mean that we're isolated. But as you know, we have low inflation, we have strong international reserves. We are pursuing for 2013 a zero deficit budget, and we're pursuing fiscally responsible policies. But at the same time, Mexico is investing heavily in infrastructure. We hope to invest more on the energy side, but we also need to diversify our economy. You were asking me what happens to Mexico if the U.S. slows down. Well, obviously our economies are deeply integrated, and another policy of the government is to diversify our economy towards the South and towards Asia. In particular, in Latin America, we're part of a very exciting area called the Pacific Alliance. 4 countries, 99% of the products will be liberalized. This is happening in less than 6 months. And with Asia, Pemex is also having a much more prominent strategy to diversify our exports towards Asia.